My name is Christina McElroy and I'm the chairperson of the Arts Focus Group, which is part of the Dublin Community Forum. It was refounded in 2012 following a seminar which was held in Wood Quay. And at that Wood Quay seminar, what was identified was there was a problem between the language of arts between so-called professionals and people who are engaged in the arts. And people talked about the need for more venues and places to go. Following on from that, we decided to update our listing, which existed in 2002, called Dublin Me Arts, which is a listing of community and voluntary and amateur groups in Dublin City. We found that updating almost impossible, because what has happened in the intervening 10 years is money has just not been put into keeping this up, the listing there. A lot of people are not answering their emails, they're not answering their phones, and money's not been put into community groups. So that was part one. Part two then was, I've got a very good friend, Mary, who takes her friend Patsy to an arts kind of class that's held once a week. When that class folded, she couldn't find anywhere that would let her know where next to go. So in ways, this whole event and the report that we're putting together is about how Mary and Patsy can find things to do. And the third part is I wanted to celebrate those people who value participatory arts, because I have a passionate belief in the arts as being a way to create citizens who are engaged and happy. And thank you, and it's going to be a very interesting little kind of report here. So I'd like to introduce our first panel here. And our panel is Colleen Nahasha, who set up Narrative Arts, which is one of the first storytelling groups that was set up in this city here. Pat McDevitt is a member of the People's College Choir. And the People's College was set up about 30 years ago to allow workers to upskill themselves and to take part in the arts. And the People's College Choir is an exemplary example of people just having fun and learning by doing. Beside me here, I've got Jonathan McGlynn, and he set up an amazing thing, which he'll tell you more about, which is called Underground Dub, and it's an outlet for singer-songwriters, and it's now expanding, I think, into several nights from the International Bar. And then the far corner there is Bernadette, who set up the Crumlin Community Orchestra. So you're just going to enjoy just listening to what they have to say. So perhaps we start with you, Colleen. Could you tell us a little bit about your group and also how people find you?
Okay, well, I'm the founder of the Narrative Arts Club and also of an association called the Narrative Arts Association. The Narrative Arts Club holds innovative storytelling events intermittently now. I've been outside of Dublin, so I'm just returning now and becoming active again. The Narrative Arts Association exists to promote innovation in storytelling in Ireland and internationally. Information about the Narrative Arts Club can be found on the club website, which is narrativeartsclub.com, and it can be found fairly easily by searching for Dublin storytelling in a good search engine. Storytelling internationally, I think in Europe and the United States, finds itself in a strange kind of a position. And storytellers speak strange kinds of nonsense about it, because on the one hand they say that people have always told storytelling at all times, and on the other hand they say that it's at risk of dying out and that it needs to be revived, and obviously those two things can't be true. Ben Haggerty, who's one of the leading figures in the current storytelling movement in Britain, resolves this by explaining that we're talking about two different kinds of storytelling. He calls them fireside or hearthside storytelling and court or professional storytelling. And I have a foot in both camps. I think that both of them are vitally important. I think it's important that people have access to the arts in the community, and at the same time I think it's vitally important that there are some people who make their living as artists, and so they become professional, and there must be ways for them to make a living, to pay the rent, and so on. And I'm interested, as I say, I'm committed to both of those things. We're in a funny situation in that I think the arts generally in this country, more than most countries, we suffer from a collective alcohol dependency, if I may say, and it goes through the long history of the involvement of the vintners in our politics, if I may say. And, you know, if we look at the arts festivals, I find it very difficult to think of a big arts festival, you know, a film festival, a music festival, that doesn't have an alcohol brand associated with it. And it raises questions for me as an artist engaged in an art that requires people to listen, that requires people to be concentrating. It's very difficult to do good storytelling when people are under the influence of alcohol, which makes them really want to talk, you know. Coming back to a little bit, just to say a little bit more about what I actually do and how people can get involved. Most of my practice is involved in innovation. So I work with musicians, and particularly with electronic musicians, classical musicians, to develop a new kind of a bardic practice. I'd like to emphasize I'm not interested in revival of the old Irish bardic tradition. I don't think it's possible, because the old bards spoke in Irish. They had a very strict meter and verse, and they played the harp until about the early 17th century, after the Battle of Kinsale, when Queen Elizabeth decided that they were dangerous subversives and had them all hanged, basically. I don't think we can revive that. But conversely, that gives us an opportunity to invent a new storytelling art form, and I'm talking essentially about a new professional storytelling art form. And at the same time, I'd like to just mention that I want to hold the door open for people to come in and enjoy that on a voluntary and amateur basis. So what I've done in the club is to work with other storytellers and with musicians to develop new stories. We've worked, for example, with Claire Fitch, cellist, who hooks her cello up to a pedal board and to various electronic apparatus, a laptop, loops and distorts the sound to create electronic soundscapes, which bring the stories to a new level, and which I think really is something that, to my knowledge, nobody else is doing anywhere in Europe.
And Colleen runs workshops as well, and he's been involved with a lot of the other storytelling groups that exist in the city, such as Milk and Cookies and other.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that if people want to get involved, look me up, come to a workshop. And the Milk and Cookies does excellent work in holding a monthly event, usually on the second Tuesday of every month, where there's an open mic session where people can take part.
And beside me here is Pat McDevitt, who's going to tell you a little bit about the People's Choir, which is attached to the People's College. Way to go, Pat.
Okay. Well, about 16 years ago, I wished very much to join a choir. Eventually, I found the People's College. It was a little bit difficult, but they have a wonderful choir, and I've been there for 16 years. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. The People's College Choir is a mixed choir of 50 members. It was founded in 1993 as part of the wider cultural programme of courses and subjects offered by the People's College Adult Education Association, Dublin. Established in 1948, that's the People's College. To provide workers' education, the People's College continues to promote and develop a broad range of adult education, such as languages, social and political studies, literature, art appreciation, and cultural activities for trade unionists, their families, and the general public. The members of the choir come from all parts of Dublin, and their repertoire reflects their eclectic musical tastes, from madrigals, spirituals, and traditional Irish airs to arrangements of modern popular songs. The choir performs at a variety of functions and concerts. It has participated in festivals both at home and abroad, having travelled to Denmark, representing Ireland in the millennium, Italy and Austria, and has undertaken choral exchanges with other European choirs, most notably with Chantanons in France and Choral La Lira, Spain. The choir is conducted by their musical director, Paul Walsh. And the People's College Choir is looking for additional male members because we have a funding of female members, with a view to expanding its bass and tenor sections. While the ability to read music would be a definite asset, it is not by any means a requirement for membership of the choir. Indeed, most of our members do not read music. If you are interested in joining the choir, please contact the musical director, Paul Walsh, via the college, or turn up in advance at our rehearsals, which are held on Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. in the Teachers' College, Parnell Square. And I must say that I enjoy every minute of it. It doesn't matter if I don't feel well or whatever. I know I'm going to enjoy and have a good laugh as well, and end up in the People's College bar having a nice little drink and meeting and talking to all the people and making friends.
So whilst we're saying about that it's difficult to get venues to rehearse if you're a drama group, it's difficult if you're a creative writing group, which I've been a member of, to get space to actually do something at the moment because there's no listing, there's no way of finding out what's available in your town or in your area. The pubs have actually come to the fore and can actually provide a space, and Jonathan's going to tell us about the Underground Dub.
Yeah, so my name is Jonathan Armis McGlynn, and I'm a founder of an event, one of many fantastic events taking place in this very active city, Dublin at the moment, which I really think is vibrant beyond belief. But this event is called Dublin's Underground Beat, and I so called it because it's in Dublin. It happens to be underground. For many, it's a euphemism for many things, but it is, in fact, in the basement of a bar, the International Bar, which I don't mean to promote, but it just is there. And it's the beat. So the beat goes right back to the beat generation, or any sort of beating of something, which means an involving of energy. And so the space is provided by the bar to me in order to get people into the bar. So there's a kind of private-public, coercion there. But it works in the benefit of the artist and of the establishment, obviously. Most people don't actually drink, funny enough, but they do provide the space. And in that space, we have a small stage where all are equal. The idea is kind of, I grew up in a house with very wonderful, loving parents, but the television seemed to be on an awful lot, and the television's a great piece of art form, but it's kind of disastrous for social cohesion. And the ability it has to form people's ideas and control and manipulate their ideas in a more commercial sense than the cohesive social sense we would like. So this event provides a platform where human beings can ensue being instead of watch other people being actors. So rather than reading scripts, they are the script, and then they come in and perform on the stage, and it's music, poetry, performance, drama, in fact anything you feel like doing for 6 minutes, and if it's particularly good you might come back for 15, which seems like a quite small period of time, but it can be quite a long time if you're on a stage performing a piece you've created, or you're actually just improvising and coming up with on the spot. So we have different performers of all different ilks, and from that it spawned many different events. So already there was the Monday Echo and the Glora sessions. I don't know if you've heard of them. How you'd access these events is on the new forums of Facebook and Twitter, which are incredible forums because they have provided obviously this free space to access enormous amounts of viewership or listeners or intrigued passers-by. So I think we have about 700 friends already, and it's entering our 3rd year this year, I think. Now, one problem is obviously doing any of these events, it's completely voluntarily based. We do small donations. We're trying to make a newsletter. I know Sue Jackson's here from DCTV. We did a 6-part series for DCTV with a man from Belgium, a great filmmaker, completely unfunded. So nobody actually gets any money. Now that's a bit of a tricky thing because obviously I have a job, some other people have jobs. And it seems to be that's a modern element of the arts. And it was always probably there, but you have to actually be able to sustain yourself and do the arts as a love of being, as opposed to an intended hope for surviving on the back of it. That's a harsh reality that some people might have to face up to. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad thing, that you work to provide income for your performance and arts. How we provide a space is that we give the stage for anybody who wants to do anything, and from that, we, as I say, we spawn many different events. Mixed Messages is a new one, because people's ideas evolve, and it's beautiful to watch evolving ideas from the event that we've created. We used to have people who create, every week they create something new, so they might come in and go, this week, do you mind if I just stand up and perform from my seat? And go, no, and I've got 4 other people involved, and we're going to come in from different angles. And now an event called Mixed Messages has started. I had another event called Ink and Ivories. I might be too much information one time. But Mixed Messages is an event which is completely pre-organised. So if it was a room like this, all the actors or performers know what they're going to do at a certain time, following another actor. But there's no stage and there's no host. So the performers explode out of the performance. And again, all voluntarily based. But I think that's only aided by the plethora of art and fabulously talented people we happen to have in Dublin, which, as a person who's travelled all over, it really amazes me every week, every Wednesday, and every time I go out in Dublin, that every single night, everywhere in Dublin, our communities are enacting these events. And I think it's something we should be so proud of, and it should be sold much more to the greater European community, how active this city is in comparison to other cities per capita. I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but it's incredible how we're all here today on a Saturday, and there's going to be people tonight doing events. But
So unfortunately, the second bit of
that's
quick.
fine.
So the main thing that is so fantastic about this particular kind of poetry and singer-songwriter event is that it's open and people can come along, and that is, so you as a performer can have a chance and see whether you like it, but also as an audience member, it's the most fantastic eclectic evening. So thank you very, very much, Jonathan. And finally, in this group here, we've got Bernadette, who set up the community orchestra in Crumlin, and it has expanded out that now, if you're an adult and you want to learn an instrument, you can come along. And I've had the pleasure of hearing concerts where people who never read music before, never played an instrument before, can have a go, and it's all about participation. So you're going to enjoy listening to Bernadette now. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the first thing I want to say is I feel privileged that I have the benefit of listening to those other speakers, because we learn to the day we die, and I've heard a lot here that I haven't heard of before, even though they think we're the ultimate, but we actually aren't. We're going to learn every day of our lives. What I'd like to say, I'd like to concur with Christina's idea that we have a very clearly descriptive programme that people will know where to go, and not just a line. Those lovely inputs there, that needs to be included so people feel welcome, that it's not exclusive. Just to briefly say, as the other night I gave a talk and host for an hour and a half and they hadn't enough, so I had to condense this into 3 minutes, but I'll do my best, and you can ask questions afterwards. The first thing is, the inspiration for the project came from our own foundress, Mother Mary Aikenhead, a Cork woman, and she said her vision, her legacy was to give to all what the rich can buy for money. That was one thing. And the other thing that inspired me was William Butler Yeats, who said, all art begins and ends in the foul rag and bone shop of the heart. So it's the poverty of our own hearts inspires all the creativity. Now, I also believe I've been principal of 3 different schools for over 30 years before, well, I've been working with music as an assistant musical director for the National Children's Choir, and I've had a lot of experience. I trained with Veronica Dunn, who thought it'd be great to make a career. I said no. I said a gift is only a gift when you give it away. So if you can inspire other people, isn't it much better to create all those people around you? Now, the other thing I believe is, it's like the old phrase, it takes a whole village to educate a child. And what I believe was, when I was in the school with, I must say, the person that's hugely responsible for the project with myself is Dr. Joanna Crooks. She is absolutely a legend. And she herself had the same vision as myself, that we had a school of about 300 plus children, and we decided that every child, why should any child be exempt from learning, say, a stringed instrument? And a stringed instrument, because People with disability can be included. Say they mightn't be perfect, but the group will carry them, and that's fine. So we decided also, I went round the classes first, so I want to say this very clearly, to say that when people think that they have to know a lot about an instrument and the children have to be given a choice, how can any of us choose something we've had no experience of? So I went into the class and said, don't tell me who'd love to learn the violin, thinking that a whole crowd and we'd never afford it. I said, anyone that's dying to learn it, put your hand up. We got about 3 hands up in the whole school. So Joanna and myself said, we'll give it from 3-year-olds up to 12. And we begged, borrowed and steal. We won awards and we got money, a bit of funding here and there. And funding, let me tell you, will not be the enthusiasm and commitment's the problem, but funding will never be the problem. So anyway, to cut a long story short, we started off the orchestra in the school. Then the parents got involved, so we decided, we were kind of dithering a bit about the parents because it's very hard in a deaf school, which is lovely, not disadvantaged, delivering equality in schools. What's a great thing is if you can get the parents, but they're very busy, God help them, there are 2 parents working, and it's very difficult. But anyway, we took our power. We kept sending out these little letters to say, do you want your power or do you not? We just put it that way. Do you want to give it all to the children, or have you a talent as well? So we put them on the hall, gave them a little sticker like the junior infants, and Joanna, the genius that she is, she said, if a tall guy came in, he's the double bass. If the other, no experience, he's the cello, the other fella, and whatever. So they come up with the tag. They all joined the orchestra. Now we've about 100 parents and grandparents in the orchestra. Can you imagine the power of that in a community? That's why I think the systemic thing is so important for all these communities, because it was no point in us working on our own. If you can get the community from 3-year-old involved in some bit of activity, then it'll reach out to the parents and grandparents. So then after that then, we decided we'd get a music society, because there are a few singers, and there's a place, Freehills, and they go over for a pint sometimes after the practices. And anyway, so I went over there one night and I said, what are you all doing here? They said, there's great stuff going on over there, sister. Well, I said, why aren't you over there? The fellow said to me, I said, the next musical is on, go and list your name. What did he say? You're right, sister, he was the Pavarotti of Crumlin here one time. Do you see? So anyway, to make a long story short, in 2007, we started the Children's Orchestra, the European Year of Equality. In 2010, we started the Parents' Orchestra. 2011, we started the Music Society. So the Music Society then did straight away, Joanna believes in doing it, not talking about it. So we started straight away with Oklahoma. Then we did The King and I. In the end of March, last week in March, last Friday in March, we're doing The Sound of Music. And already Joanna's planning for South Pacific. Now, after all that, I retired at the end. They say retired, but I have to look up the meaning of it. Anyway, at the end of September, at beginning of September, I opened the new community centre for music and the arts. And in that centre, we have a group of guys that were in the brew, say kids that the system doesn't fit, that drives them crazy. So anyway, they came up with little supervisors. They don't need any supervisors. They're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. 8 of them playing the guitar. They wanted the electric guitar. I said, go for the ordinary one first, and then we get the electric. I told them 1 week to get a name for themselves. Next week they had it, Slim Pickens. I told them to go, they wanted me to get a gig for them. So they said, the guy that's with them is wonderful. So when he was working with them, next thing he says to them, he says, we tried to get a gig. I said, where's that gig he was getting for you last week? And these fellas wouldn't have a clue about NAMA. Sister, we couldn't get it, it's gone into NAMA, says the fellas. So anyway, I said that this is about self-esteem. He said to me, I said, I'll try and do something in Freehills for you, see what they... Thanks very much, we know you're very good, sister, but that wouldn't be big enough. They were only learning about 3 weeks. So that's the music centre, doing all kinds of instruments. A man of 75 came the other day with a guitar under his arm, and I said, are you going to play for us? I was dying all my life to learn it, and I'm coming now to do it. I said, well done to you. And the other day that Sabina Higgins opened the centre, and there was a lady that had all kinds of orchestras of professional people. And what's it, Sabina Higgins? This one was playing, she was playing for about 3 weeks, the keyboard, and there was another guy playing on the tin whistle, only a few weeks. He says, he's an older man, he may be in his late 60s, he was still working, and he says, I can't get off for that. I said, I'll ring the boss if you can't get off. I said, you get in there and play the tin whistle for Sabina Higgins, only 3 weeks. So what the funny thing was, this is about self-esteem. What did he do? He stood up and he says, she got up and she said, she didn't feel she did it. Would you all mind if I play there again? I feel I didn't do justice to myself. And the other fellow says, Jesus, I was stressed out trying to play it once, now I have to play it again. But that's what it is. The essence of all projects must be building self-esteem. It's not a lack. People say, I can't sing. It's not to do with your throat. It's to do with your projection of what it's to do. So what you have to say is, listen, forget it. They never learned music either. Get in there and see what you can do. But more important than anything is the cup of tea in the middle of the practice, because then you do need the professionals. We have a side-by-side concert we had at the beginning. The professionals right around to the orchestra, see a few of them come in, and get your kids or your people to play alongside them so they'll empower each other. So you do need the professionals, and you do need to stop our young people emigrating, our wonderful talent. Get them in. So you need the professional work side by side with the others. And all I can say to you is the website is www.stagnesmusiccrumlin.com. Look up and find whatever you want. You're welcome to the Sound of Music, and if you want to come, might be able to get a special.
Thank you very much.
Okay.